subject today is somewhat long, but I couldn't condense it. I don't care how I tried. And the subject I want to lift up is entering the house of God the right, proper, correct, and appropriate way. Entering into the, not my house, not your house, not the neighbor's house, but entering the house of God the right, proper, correct, and appropriate way. In this text, we find the people of God on their way to church. The picture here is of a procession of believing people about to enter their venue of worship. It provides a perfect illustration of the prerequisite attitude for rightly, properly, correctly, and appropriately entering into the house of God. They enter, according to the text, happy and glad. They joyfully and jubilantly enter singing. And their hearts are filled with thanksgiving. And their mouths are full of praise. This was their behavior, their demeanor, their state of mind as they entered into the house of the Lord. They were preparing themselves for, watch this now, participatory and not observational worship. Oh, somebody didn't hear me. They were preparing themselves for participatory and not observational worship. They were not going to cast themselves into the role of onlookers, bystanders, or spectators in the house of the Lord. They were getting themselves ready to fully participate in the worship experience. They were engaged, they were going to be engaged, they were going to be involved, and they were going to be committed in the house of the Lord as they worship our God. As a people of God, going to church was important to them. Worship was important to them. Serving the Lord was important to them. Praising the Lord and thanking the Lord and blessing the Lord was important to them. And like anything that's important to us, they got excited about another opportunity to enter into the house of the Lord. The attitude was later summed up by David when he wrote in Psalm 122, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Oh, he didn't write I was sad. He didn't write I was mad. But he said I was glad when somebody else was talking to him. They said, you know what, man, it's time to go to church. It's time to go where? Church. All right, count me in. I'm on my way. He did not give the impression that he had to be dragged to church. He didn't give the impression that it's Sunday and I know I need to go down there, so I guess I'll go. He doesn't give the impression that said, well, you know, I need a little humor, so I'll go down there and see what Sister So-and-so wearing today. Hot brother so-and-so got his tie and his lapel handkerchief off. So I'm going to go down there and just observe other folks so I can sit there and snicker at them. He didn't seem like he wasn't conveying that he was going to church to pass notes to his neighbor. Boy, it got quiet then, didn't it? Help me, Holy Ghost. The people in this text felt a need to worship. To themselves, some may have said, Everything may not be perfect and entirely without fault and shortcoming. But where else can I go to hear the songs being sang to the glory of God? Where else can I go to hear a message delivered on the word of God? Where else can I go if I want to be informed, instructed, and inspired to be a better person tomorrow than I was yesterday, other than go to the house of the Lord? Now, I can be entertained at other venues. And let me put a pin in that. A whole lot of our churches have become entertainment centers. Nothing but productions produced to entice people to give money so that folk can have private jets, live in houses where even the instruments in the bathroom are made of solid gold. But God's house is not to be an entertainment venue. It is to be a venue that we can come to be strengthened and directed and challenged in a corporate setting by hearing songs of Zion and hearing the preached word of God. Go somewhere else to be entertained. Go to the ball game to be entertained. Go to a concert to be entertained. But when you come and I come to church, we come in to glorify our God. Hello, somebody. I hear folk, well, why don't your grandchild come to church? Why don't your children come to church? Well, Pastor, they're not used to, having to sit for an hour and a half, and they don't half understand what's going on. You telling me that and think I'm going to believe it? So you don't bring them to church? No, I see when I was a child, they forced me to come. And I promised myself I wasn't going to force my child to come to church if they didn't want to come. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. I told my daughter the same thing. Baby, you do not have to go to church. So give me the address where you will be living. And I know you're not but 8 years old, but I'm sure you already have a lease on an apartment where you're going to be staying because you're going to pay your light bill, you're going to feed yourself. Hello, somebody. You're going to have air conditioning. But if you're up in here, I don't want to hear I don't feel like it today. Oh, you don't feel like it, huh? Well, guess what I feel like? Spare the rod, spoil the child. So, this whole thing about they want to be entertained, but for that hour and a half, it's not to be entertainment, it's to be edification. Teach them something that they're going to have to stand upon that as the foundation of their future life. You can't stand upon the foundation of entertainment, but you can stand on the foundation of the Word of God as it builds up our spirit in the Lord. I wish I had a witness today. I go to God's house to be strengthened when I'm weak. I go to God's house to be built up when I feel torn down. Now, human beings, as I move toward my conclusion, human beings being human beings, I would not be surprised if there were some people in our text who was entering the house of God one day, and they were not on the best terms with other people who were entering the house that day. There may have been some dissension in the ranks. There may have been some disagreements among some of those on their way to church. Some people may have been at odds with another person who was on their way to church. Some may have harbored ill feelings for whatever reason against other worshipers on their way to church. Or some of them may not have liked the priests as they were on their way to church. And the priests may have been looking at some of them with a jaundiced eye as they were on their way to church. Yet and still, Here they are, gathered for one purpose and one purpose alone, to put aside any and everything and focus on entering the house of the Lord the right, the proper, the correct, and the appropriate way, so as to worship the Lord as the Lord deserves and desires that he be worshiped. Whomever they may have had a problem with would not be allowed to get in the way of the blessing to be received in the presence and participating in the worship experience. Hello, y'all, did y'all hear what I said? Whoever they may have had a problem with, I don't know how big that problem may have been. These folk were determined that as the devil spoke to their heart while they were on their way, you know so-and-so going to be there, don't you? Now, you know, this may be the son of the sister so-and-so read the song. And you know you don't like her and she don't like you. You know this may be y'all hear what I'm saying? The devil can speak to folk hard and give people all kind of reasons why it's not to come to church. Or if they come to church, sit there like a knot on a log or a tree full of owls. I don't care what happened, they're not moved. I don't care what happened, they're not going to wave their hand. I don't care what happened, they're not going to pat their feet. I don't care what happened, they're not going to stand on their feet. They just going to sit there. You better be glad I'm here, or I didn't have to come. It wasn't like that. They said, if I'm going to the house of the Lord, I'm going to go to the house of the Lord the right way, the proper way, the appropriate way, the correct way. I don't care who's going to be there. I don't care who's going to be there. Their focus, somebody said focus, was on the Lord and not on the people. Now, we are a fellowship. We agree that the church is not the building, the church is the people. But don't you let any people get in the way of your getting what you are supposed to get when you come into the house of the Lord. That person didn't die on a cross. That person didn't go into a grave. That person didn't emerge 3 days later and said, all power is given unto me. That person not sitting on the right hand of the Father, and yet it still will come back again. And what happens? What happens is this. That when we come the right, proper, correct, and appropriate way, the Lord gives his people, watch this now, the ability to feel better about getting along with each other. And they will not leave the same way that they came. I can come and the devil thinking thoughts, make me thinking thoughts about sister, brother, so-and-so. But when I get in the mix, when I get in the service, when I get to praising the Lord, I don't care what problems I had when I came in, the Lord will say, you don't have to leave here like you came. Lord, have mercy. They were not only in one place, but they are also on one accord. The phrase that trumps all phrases in this text to me now is this phrase, the Lord is good. The Lord is good. Brother Johnny may think he's slick, but the Lord is good. Oh, Alexander owed me some money, and he's slow about paying it back, but the Lord is good. My spouse and I may have some spats every now and then, but the Lord is good. Sometimes the children, down home, they don't say children. They say they do two ways. It's either cheering or children. I know you sophisticated people here in Riverside don't know anything about that. But sometimes the children, the cheering, doing everything but the right thing, but the Lord is good. I have aches and pains in my body, but the Lord is good. My money may be funny, But the Lord is good. So, church, let's take our cue and follow the example of these worshipers found in this text and be determined. And I heard an old preacher used to say, spite of. I got this going on, it ain't right, but spite of. We ain't always supposed to be, but spite of. In spite of whatever is going on in our lives, let us be like these people, enter into the worship experience and make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Serve him with gladness. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name, for the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting, and it endureth through all generations. My concluding statement is this. If these people in this text, on the Old Testament side of the cross, could enter the house of God the right, proper, appropriate, and correct way, what should we, who are on the New Testament side of the cross, hello somebody, how should we enter into the house of the Lord? Let us examine our hearts, our thoughts, our motivations, that we be not, in the words of Daniel, weighed in the balances and found wanting, as it pertains our entering into the house of God, the right, the proper, the correct, and the appropriate way. May God bless you, heaven smile upon you, and continue to serve the Lord. I am of the firm opinion, and this is just an opinion, that the house of the Lord, it is an opinion formed by my understanding of the Word of God, that the house of God should be full of God's people and full of God's glory. Unless it is unusual circumstance, or pandemic or whatever, I personally believe that an empty church is stench in the nostrils of God. That when he looks down in a place that has been set aside for his worship, he wants to see his people coming in gladly